Okay, maybe starting part 2. Let's see how this goes. I'm either going to be doing some cutting here, or this is the start of part 2. Hello, people. So, weird wargaming decisions. Why the hell did they get rid of Redshire updated version to keep in the old version?
Well,
the
that's
map that PC said,
that's
it's broken, we'll fix it. Oh yeah, we fixed it. Console went, yay, we got the fixed one now. But for some reason, we're still keeping the old one in so that we can claim we have more maps. Now we're removing the good one. We're leaving the crap one that's a bit broken.
Yeah, that actually always
Right.
that always makes me laugh. That oh yeah, we have like 80 something maps, and I see this as a point when maps get removed. That but we still have more maps on PC.
Rain.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how many maps you have. If they all play exactly the same and have the exact same layout, they are pretty much the same map. And a solution.
The name of the map?
And
is it Icebound or Ice Storm or something like that? The one that's got a big circle in the middle, and then it's snow and mountains are all around the outside.
Yeah, I can't remember the name now, but you know it's funny. It's
Ice something.
Yeah.
That seriously, pay attention to that map. That map is literally a copy and paste. It's copy pasta of several different maps. So it has the church from Lakeville. It has some of like the city bits from Ensk. Genuinely, they're not even
actually
similar. They are identical. If you go check them out. I did this because I had the Lakeville followed by that map, and I just had this weird moment where I'm looking to my right and I went, "Is that the same church?" And it was. It's identical down to the damage on it.
Oh yeah, which makes sense. A lot of games do that. They reuse assets. Like if you look at Battlefield, it reuses a lot of assets just to save on space. But funny enough, people thought that was a console exclusive map. Not entirely. That was actually a map. It's either taken straight from or heavily inspired by a map that appeared in one of PC's weird little competitive gaming modes where it had multiple objectives that had the repair points. I remember like because like that. And I remember because I was playing PC at that point, and I had played that map before. So when I saw it pop up on console, I'm like, "Holy shit, this seems oddly familiar."
Yeah.
So yeah, you got the reuse assets. And on top of that, it's based heavily on a PC map, which most people Pilsen, which
the spawn points on Pilsen, that it took them 3 patches to finally change the standard battle spawns.
Yeah, which I don't know.
And it's still got the is it assault mode where encounter where one side has no access to the cap flag and the other side has hull down and access to the cap flag.
Yeah, I don't know
because reasons.
I don't know what the hell it is with their obsession of squeezing every game mode onto every map, and this pisses me off on other games. I
honestly wouldn't mind. An encounter in that map would work okay if it got kept in the same spawns as standard battle, because it would still work out the way. Right, so if you think Pilsen, so you've got the more medium-ish, slightly hilly terrain, lots of dips and all that, good for gun depression. If you know how to play things like a 62A or a 140, right, you can play them there as well. STB1, that sort of thing, it's their paradise. And then on the left, you've got things where you take your ISs and your fatherlands, motherland, all the sort of, good heavies that can side scrape and get a bit hauled out. E5, Mouse, E100, they'll do all the great over there. And then if people want to, they can fight out over the middle bit. Now, if you put the cap flag in there, that still doesn't change the meta of the map. People will still fight for those 2 grounds because of where the final bit is. I would say it puts slight more emphasis on the medium section because of the fact that they get a view into where the cap flag would be. But I don't think it would change much because, if one side then won all of one bit, they could flank round and blah, 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 blah. It's the fact that someone can't understand who... I'm not going to say the name because I'm aware someone on Wargaming NA CC program for warships has said things that I've essentially said and then was removed from the CC program for saying it by calling for someone's job to be removed. But an unknown member of staff at Wargaming is clearly not very good at their own game or literally has no concept of how a map works to have redesigned the maps in the way they do. Because they're awful. They're utterly awful. And one of the things I used to sort of jokingly do is send some of the guys who I knew who did comp, like the WGL, I used to send them console maps. Send them, the layouts. And or occasionally send them a video of me playing on one, and they would laugh. They laughed because they knew they literally could watch, like, either look at the topography map or watch it being played once and say, right, if we spawn that side, we've won every time. If I've got 3 people who know what they're doing, we've won every game. Every game. Because that map is so unbalanced. And yet, they're on console.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so these are players. These are people who are not paid. They play the game for fun. And within 5-6 seconds, they could say, yeah, go there, and another guy there. Maybe there as a backup if that position gets overrun, and we won. But someone who's paid to do it and does it every day for a living can't see it.
Yeah, which always cracks me up. And here's the thing: I'm like, I'll admit I'm a very good player, but I don't have quite that sort of depth of understanding the way maps play or the way tanks play or what have you like that. Or maybe I do, and I just have a terrible way of explaining to it. I kind of look more at the creative decisions. But if you'd
probably your knowledge is probably better than you think, in the sense of a lot of people can't word it, but a lot of people know, okay, I'm going to go over there because looking at the team layout, if I winning over there accomplishes nothing, I need to win over here. That's actually the same thing. It's just not explained the same.
Yeah, which that's me. I'm absolutely terrible at explaining things, but it does kind of bring up a good point that I thought about as well. That it seems that players can almost instantly come up with a way better idea than people who presumably spend months and months on a piece of content and actually get paid for it. Like for example, I'm going to go into this again. The Japanese Panther. Somebody explain to me. Japanese Panther. Boom! Like instantly, I thought of about five other ideas that would look way cooler and make way more sense and wouldn't be quite as gimmicky. And I'm actually planning on doing that. I'm actually planning on, because I do arts, visual arts, traditional like pen and ink, and then I go scan, upload, and all that crap. And I was planning on doing a series when I can camera a few things out. Planning on doing a series of redesigned console premiums. And hopefully I can get somebody to post those on the forum for me, because I obviously can't do it anymore. But yeah, probably one of the first ones is I'm going to tackle that flipping Japanese Panther and come up with something that A, looks cooler, B, makes way more sense, and also isn't tied down to a flipping holiday that nobody outside of Japan knows about. And I probably doubt that many people in Japan know about it either. It's probably like It's probably like a National Burrito Day here in the States. Yeah, people are aware of it, but nobody gives a shit. You're not going to get work off for that. But yeah, it amazes me how somebody gets paid for this crap, especially in terms of tanks. When on our Discord we have a team, or well, not a team, but we basically have a group of people who do mods for PC, and they're well known guys like Aslan or Milky Man, and it amazes me the work those guys do basically for free, or they get paid in in-game goods, and they can do some of the crap that I ask every time one of these reskins comes out. I say, how quick would it take you to get this? And it's usually like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And this crap takes months for the console guys, which, okay, so you're telling me you went to school, you presumably went to school and got an education in game design, you do this every day, you presumably get paid fairly, I would assume you get paid decently for this, and it takes you months to take a skin that somebody else designed for you. In the case of, what was that, the Adler VK, whatever the heck it was. Yeah. And not only that, you take it and you manage to somehow make it look worse. It always amazes me. And I've seen one for like the Stark STRV. Milky showed me that. I don't think it was one of his. I think it was somebody else. And I actually posted this on the forum. Somebody took the exact same concept. They put it on the tank that actually belongs on in real life, but wedge-shaped tank destroyer thing, so it still looks virtually identical. And looks infinitely better because somebody remembered that, oh yes, this is a tank. This is a war machine. It's going to scrape up against bushes, trees. It's going to get mud on it. It's
they put some like dirt and some graying out and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which
Now, similar
Yeah.
concept to this, just a slightly sidestep, but in the same region. And so it reminded me as well because the Beard guys tweeted about this yesterday, and I was laughing when reading through some of the
Oh my
people
god.
writing in the
Oh,
Discord
I think I saw
about
some
the
also.
faces.
Oh my
Yeah, the
god.
faces. So,
Oh my.
right.
Oh
So
my.
hopefully I'll remember
Oh
at this
my
point to cut
freaking
back
god.
to the video feed from my computer. But these are actual things. I mean, actually, the thing I actually never even thought of is, in your Discord, you and a group of others were finding all the ones that look with the same face. They were the same face, but then occasionally they'd added a beard, maybe changed the eyebrows, but more interestingly, they'd changed the color of the skin. Now, I hadn't even thought about this until I was talking to a mate about this, but he said, "Isn't that essentially blackface?"
Yeah, kind of.
Like, yeah, I mean, I hadn't even thought about that. So basically, these guys from NA have not only been too lazy to create more images, the images they made, they then, rather than go, okay, well, let's see what are the let's take some pictures. I don't even know how you do it without sounding a bit racist, but take some pictures of African Americans and go, okay, well, what are common features? Okay, well, let's go with this. Rather than taking the same face and essentially adjusting like the tone of the skin, like why are you going like polarize in the settings in Photoshop and just changing the tones of the same face? Like that seems awkward as all hell. I mean, it seems very
it seems
stupid at the very least. And as you pointed out, there's already something on PC. You could have just taken the PC things and put them on console.
Yeah, if I recall.
I don't understand.
Which, granted, I will have some benefit of the doubt, and I assume those probably weren't from the dev office. They probably hired a third party, which Wargaming PC does all the time. Like all the tank HTMLs are handled by third party 3D modelers. That way they get that way the devs can actually handle shit with the game. So this is probably handled by some poor third party artist. Who knows? Maybe some guy who this is their first job, and they probably gave him.
They do go on Etsy.
They probably gave the guy like 2 weeks because this is going back to War Stories. You know how the cutscenes are comic book style?
Yeah.
Some of these, I'm pretty sure, are done by the same guy who did the World of Tanks comic series, the rollout. And here's the thing. The art in that...
I believe he is... I don't think he is, actually. To defend him on this, because I'm aware some of the people I know who are quite fans of his... I think he might send over sketches or something, and they are trying to link them. But a lot of it is not done by him. Some of the when we get those the crew images that actually look relatively good for a cartoon sort of image, I think those are him.
Yeah, those I know.
Some of those random screenshots, they're similar.
Yeah, those I think come from different artists because those are some of those are completely different styles, even though they're still a comic book style. Yeah. Which I'm a bit of a comic book nerd, so I know this is weird shit. But point being, the guy who did the cutscenes and the war stories are clearly based on, or pretty much the same style as seen in the World of Tanks comic series, which we get the Boilermaker and all that crap from. And the artist who did that used to do Judge Dredd during the 2000 AD, with the 2000 AD comics and all that. And I've seen that guy's art before. That guy is an amazing artist. And the stuff that he's been putting out for World of Tanks is nowhere near that same caliber. Yeah, I'm not going to fault him for that. I'm going to assume that he's getting paid for this. He's having like an absolute bare minimum of a schedule to do, because I've done, not professionally, but I've dabbled with comics before and like put myself on a schedule just to see what could happen. Just to see what kind of art. And yeah, it is hard as hell to do a full comic page and actually tell a story with that. So I'm assuming that they're hiring these poor third-party guys, might be their first job out of art school or whatever, and giving them like a week to do it. And that's why you have...
It's $50, you've got a week.
Yeah, and that's why almost every single one of the new crew portraits, it's the same neck and shoulders. And they're just copy-pasting different heads onto that. But still, that's, even if that's not directly the dev team's fault, that's still somebody's fault for not understanding just how much effort it takes to make something look good, and not giving somebody the time they need to do that. which is probably why. Which who knows? Which
Big guy's tweet of let's all take a moment to remember that these quality crew pictures are still in World of Tanks console.
Yeah, I saw.
Apparently, are not there by mistake.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday as well, and it is it is truly amazing. But which is and
daft.
I know we've been crapping on the reskins for this past hour that we've been on, which like yeah, we crap on the tank artists for putting that out, but then B, just to play devil's advocate as well, who knows what kind of pressure they're under just to shovel content out. And that's why I was saying why everything almost seems to be like it's the first go around, like somebody slapped that on and then forgot to put the detail on. Who knows? Maybe that is actually the case. In which case that goes down to.
I would say that kind of links back to what I was saying though to do with their care about the game beyond a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
exactly,
I have to imagine anyone who gave the remotest crap about the game would have said, "I'm not putting that out. It looks awful." I mean, anyone with any artistic ability can see that.
Yeah,
and they would have said, "No, I am not. I don't want that associated with my name." Opposed to, "Yeah, whatever. Will that do?"
Yeah,
which I think is probably the attitude of some of them.
At this point, I would assume it's a lot of them. Probably the people that we see who come in all the dev Q&As and what have you.
The issue I think I have with reskins is not the concept of a reskin, because I actually wouldn't mind if there was more, but if they were done in a certain way. So things like, I would love, and I preached on this on the forums, I've said it to Carbide, I've said it to several of the NA staff, and to be honest, a lot of the people seem to like the idea. It's something like, so I would say, so for Otto Carius's either the anniversary of his death or on his birthday, do a series of Carius tanks. So what you do is you have a premium tank, and you do every single tank that he had in his life as a premium tank. All of them have a specific skin that was the actual skin, how that tank would have looked when he had it. So find a photo of it and then match to that photo, the markings on it, the damage on it, the dirt on it, all that sort of stuff. And then it comes with a Carius skin. Or, if say there's 5 of them and the final one is a tiger, have it, and you buy a multi-pack, say it comes with 5 crew members, and each one of them were crew members that either served with him or the crew members that were in the tiger he served in, something like that. These people are all listed. I have Otto Carius's tiger in the mud. He does list the names of his crew, so that's quite possible, and it probably wouldn't be that hard for a very amateur historian to find what these guys look like. So I think it'd be very, very easy to do. I mean, again, just go through his book. He has pictures of most of the tanks he served in, so you could find all these things, and you could go all the way down from like Panzer 38Ts and 35s, all the way up to Tigers and Jagd Tigers. You could do so many things. I think that sort of thing is cool, because you could, if you're doing it clever, you do them as accurate to real life. So say I've always said I think a tier 8 Jagd Tiger would go in the game really well. Give it around 3 rounds a minute, maybe less. Nerf the crap out of the gun handling. Maybe give it a system where the initial aim time is quite quick, but then the last little bit to fully aim is really slow. Which realistically, that's the sort of thing that's quite true to life if you think about it. If you're trying to aim in on a guy, saying okay, the tank's there, that bit's easy. You turn, you now aim in his general direction. That bit's quite quick. Okay, now what elevation do I need? Right, he's moving, so there. Right, that's my shot. That bit is the bit that should be slow, and I think that would be great. I think that could work, and I think that works on so many levels, because you've got a tank that's interesting, you've got a crew member that's interesting, you've got meaning behind the tank, and it's something that appeals to people. A lot of people play this game because of their interest in history and tanks. Yes, I mean, this Japanese Panther, as I say, at least it has some very, very strenuous concepts of reality, and yes, there's the gimmicky gold
spit on. And yeah, you basically
they didn't even promote any of this.
Yeah, and you basically made the point that I was going for. It's like a reskin is fine, although to be honest, I don't know why everything needs to be completely separate tank. I think we should incorporate something like armored warfare. I don't know if they still do this, because I barely touched the game when it came out, and I don't touch it much nowadays. But they have a system to where you could take a tech tree tank that you've grounded out and then make it into a semi-premium where it had a slight XP and credit boost. Nowhere near as much as the actual premium tank. Yeah, World Warships does it as well. So why tie that into purchasable skins for a tank. Have the skin cost as much as it takes to put on a full set perma camo. So like, however how much that ends up being.
I know. I'd say a bit
and
more.
then have that.
Considering the benefits, I'd say so. Say that plus, I don't know, 30%.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be a much better way because you'll sell a lot more of them because odds are, let's see, charge $100 for something, and then or charge some $20 for something that looks exactly the same and gets somewhat the same function. You're probably going to get maybe one person buying something for $100 and 8 people paying for $20, and you're going to end up making more money that way.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, cheap is good, especially when it comes to this game. It may be free to play, but it is an expensive ass game when you get down to it, and especially considering how much, especially considering that for Xbox players anyway, they're already paying a subscription service just to access the game, and then B, we get charged way more. We get charged more for the exact same thing on PC. Like we have to pay for a whole new season of camouflage, which we never asked for. It just kind of got foisted on us. We
customizations.
Customization, which granted on PC in order to change like crew names and what have you, that costs money. But they lumped in the nationalized crew voices in with customization, which you don't have to. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to pay for that. It's just an audio option. Why is that not? Oh, that decision still inspires rage on me, and how many people completely miss the point on that. But what I'll say,
one of the things when it comes to sounds, especially, because PC gun sounds are better than they used to be. Xbox gun sounds, weirdly, I don't think are better than they used to be. I think I can't remember. There was a patch that only came out for like a month, and then they revoked it because it was so glitchy. But I think the gun sounds back in that patch were better, and I would have rather they fixed it than dropping it because of all the problems.
Yeah, if I remember right, it was last June we got the audio engine update that PC got to where it was supposed to be a part of me. And we had a couple of the sounds, but they sounded like tinny. They sounded like a really bad recording, basically. And those
we now have stuff like the fact that almost every new premium sounds like it has a 75mm gun.
Yeah, and now we're back to the exact same sounds that we had we're back to the exact same sounds we had in like 2015, which even then is a bit of a downgrade because I remember at one point, can't remember if this was still in the 360 days or like the launch of it.
They should be better.
But I do remember there was a point where our sound effects almost sounded kind of like PC. The gun sounds didn't sound exactly the same, but you got to hear the rush and the whiz of the shells coming by you. The ricochet sound sounded way more dynamic. You could hear the rounds like not just clinging against your tank, but you could hear them spinning off into the horizon to wherever the hell it is they end up going. And
this is the thing I was going to relate back to about what you said about the modding community in Rita's Discord. Is one of my favourite mods for PC was always Gnome Father's gun sounds and engine sounds, because they were incredible. Like, it doesn't matter where you were in the map. If that T92 gun fired, you heard it echo through the map. Which realistically, what is it, a 290mm gun, something daft like that?
Yeah.
You would hear that fire from miles away. It doesn't matter. You would just even if you didn't hear the like full explosion, you'd still hear like the in the background, just like that low pitch roar, and that he modeled that into the game. And I always thought he was really impressive. I always assumed he must be like, I don't know, some audio engineer who likes playing tanks in his spare time. No, it turned out he was 13. He was a 13-year-old who went round the internet, found actual gun sounds and actual engine sounds, and then on the fly learned how to do the modeling to put them in the game because he wanted them. His friends thought they were cool, so he made it available for his friends. His friends thought they were cool. It ended up getting on YouTube. The YouTube thing went viral because of someone seeing it, and it went from there. And you're like, so basically, a 13-year-old who was bored in about a month managed to get better than the PC and console devs have ever achieved.
Yeah. Which
what do you say to that? I mean, it does.
Well, it goes to, and this is kind of going back with the whole player-developer communication. You're always going to have people who just like shut on the game randomly and have absolutely no point. Okay, that you don't take those and use it as an excuse to ignore all feedback. that maybe doesn't favor the game. There are so many people out there who have so many great ideas for this game. Just look at going on the forum. Look at, I don't know how the hell I pronounce it, but Jocko 3000. How many tech tree lines has that guy posted since this game launched? How many of them have been implemented? And I guarantee you every last one of those could have been implemented by now. Players...
Ice Frogger posted something the other day to do with, because, and it's true, console, on PC as well, equipment-wise, there is very little variety. Now, I've heard people say, oh yeah, add a fourth equipment slot. Apparently that was a popular idea on the forum recently. That's just nonsense, because that won't change a damn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, if you're running a medium tank, you're generally going to run optics, rammer, vert stabs.
Yeah.
You add a fourth, then you might either add vents, or you might add gun laying if it's one that's got particularly bad, aim time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change anything. They're still the same ones. And Ice Frogger did a really cool list of different ones, all the ones that we don't use, sort of the... can't even remember the name of them, which is sort of making my point in a weird way. And then he added secondary and even tertiary results. And he did it for all of them as well. So he did it with the ones that are used and the ones that aren't used. And the idea being that almost in an RPG style, it meant that it added a true level of customization. Now, I think some of them, it needed a bit of tweaking. I think some of them, like, if you had applied them to tanks where they really don't need it, would have been insane. Like, I think one of the ones changed your ground resistance on bad ground. Now, I think the idea behind that is, well, okay, that on an E100, that will regularly save your life. It basically, I think it halved the actual penalty you take. The issue on that is that means that something like a T100 LT, that would still then have like a fucking 50-degree turn time on bog, while still doing 70 kph, and that's just nuts. That just shouldn't be possible. So I think it probably needed a little bit of tweaking, but the idea was brilliant.
Yeah,
he'd taken the time, he'd gone through all the different details, he tried to balance it here and there, and overall the idea was a really good idea.
Yeah, I'd actually thought of something somewhat similar regarding crew skills, because obviously our crew system is way simplified over PCs. But why don't we take advantage of that simplification and use it to branch off into something new? Which, again, I'm taking a cue from Armored Warfare, but I liked Armored Warfare and what they were trying to do back in the early days, back when it was still under Obsidian, where they had, like you said, an almost RPG element, because that was basically what Oblivion did back then. They did RPG role-playing games of why don't we have a sort of skill tree, and you could specialize a commander through different skills. So, for example, if you want to stick a commander in a tank destroyer, they might have some basic skills that they build up to, but then you can sort of branch off into skills that might apply to that tank destroyer role, like things relating to camouflage, things relating to moving stealthily. Whereas if you put that commander in a heavy tank, you can move it, you can build up crew skills that help with survivability, being able to, say, repair faster or what have you. And then also, because that's the thing, that nobody in gaming nowadays remembers the days of actual specialized roles and playing that role, but you could have some kind of way in order to branch in between those and get the skills you like. Maybe just make it slower. But that's the point. I was saying is, you can't just, as a dev team, you can't just isolate yourself and put yourself in that echo chamber, especially when you only have like the same 5 or 6 people showing up into a board meeting trying to shoot ideas. It's like you need, it's just the way games work nowadays. You need to bring that player base in, because there's always going to be way better ideas than you could possibly come up with, or maybe just a way to build on that idea that you've already established. But no, every update there's always advertised, oh yeah, here's a player requested feature. No, you basically probably had an idea already, found somebody who suggested that
someone,
yeah, and then went with the
one person who said that 5 years ago.
Yeah, and then went with the easiest way you possibly implement that, like the captured KV1. No, that piece of that's in the game now is not what people were asking for. They were asking for the historical captured KV1, which had a German cupola welded onto the top of it and a German 75mm gun from the Panzer IV slapped in the turret,
like War Thunder did.
Yeah, like War Thunder did. Not the freaking piece of crap that we got now. And I don't even care if the paint job is historical on that. Okay, whatever. Still not what people wanted. People want something that actually existed, and this is going back to what you were saying about reskins, about tying them into something. People like, I don't get why it is that wargaming and
the tie-in interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when it comes to history. And maybe this is just me. I'm a bit of an amateur historian. I'll admit I'm never gonna be David Fletcher or anybody like that. But just when it comes to the historical aspects of the game, show some respect for that.
Yeah.
I was making, and this may be a really cruel statement, and it's probably not true for all of them, but I get the impression that a lot of the people behind the dev team are the kind of people who would show up to a Holocaust museum and then start whipping out the selfie sticks. There just seems to be such a blatant disrespect for the historical aspects of the game. And especially and coming back to War Stories, which I think War Stories just serves as like a great little microcosm of all the overall problems with the game. Why the did you go with alternate history of all things and then not even do that right? Like,
without playing to like stereotypes and stuff a bit too much, yeah, it's worth pointing out you do come from a country that denies certain historical events that other countries refer to as genocides. America has always had a liberal attitude to history.
Oh yeah, and who knows? Maybe that's why I am so passionate about it. But yeah, which I remember.
With no offense to a lot of Americans, the best way I've always, because obviously I speak to a lot of Americans because of this, and Americans obviously have a bad reputation around the world. The way I always describe Americans to people when they say, "Oh yeah, I get it around when I'm at the pub or something." Oh yeah, you talk to a lot of Americans, don't you? Oh yeah, what are they actually like? Which is a weird question. It feels like I'm talking about someone from like Zimbabwe, but you go. My always sum up is Americans are lovely, intelligent, friendly people, but there's a disturbingly large number of them desperate to prove me wrong. And that's usually how do you know what I mean? Because more often than not, my dealings with any American is completely par to the stereotype. Like, opposite to the stereotype, not par. Like, so you like history. Most people playing World of Tanks probably have some interest in history.
Yeah,
but there's no guarantee that someone in the dev team, because they have no interest in the game, has an interest in history. And as I say, it's something we almost get taught about it in the UK, that American history textbooks are wrong. Like, I mean, without starting some form of flame war here against people who are proud to be American, don't get me wrong. There could have been a much more serious issue with the whole revolution thing, and when you kicked us out of America. But I like a lot of Americans say, "Yeah, we just kicked your ass and it was all that," and you then tried to invade Canada and lost.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
that's the bit that you don't seem to talk about.
Yeah, when I was in school, I took advanced placement history classes, so I actually did learn about that. And I learned, and when you win one small section of the world against a global empire, you kind of have to figure in that empire is probably busy with God knows what else at any given time.
Yeah, I still don't understand why British, and slightly very off subject we've got here, but I still don't understand why British Parliament decided that Canada was more valuable. No offense to any Canadians, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, it just makes no sense. It's just, we've got Canada, we've done okay from this situation. Really? The place with like all the sugar and coffee and lots of money, opposed to. I think I have to assume that decision was purely made on a basis of, well, at least we didn't lose the place that used to be owned by France.
Yeah. Or
that's my assumption.
Or who knows? Maybe it was just like, an absolutely exhausted parent dealing with a rowdy kid. Just whatever, let them have what they want, so we don't have to deal with them. Because we did. Don't forget, we did end up having a rematch a couple decades down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back onto the whole, getting back to the whole wargaming and appreciation of history. But yeah, that's the thing that frustrates me.
Change the complete negativity that this has been so far. I will throw something where it's at least slightly positive in, where I always found their approach to skills and perks almost better than PC in a lot of ways. So
it's certainly
we have 25 slots, but there's like 30 something crew perks. So that's an interesting thing. On PC they only have the 25 or whatever it is. So you can eventually just max it out. You have everything. You can never do that on console. Now admittedly it probably makes very little difference, but it does still make a difference. I mean, swimming lessons no one gives a rat's ass about. I'm aware that it can be used for glitches to get to places on the map that you shouldn't be able to, and console devs just went, hey, isn't that funny? Opposed to fixing it, but oh well. Ignoring that sort of stuff, the fact that, as you say, it's, we can put any crew in any type of premium tank. That was always a nice touch. I really do like stuff like that. Because that also caters to the low budget player. They don't have to buy. You want to have crew grinders on PC. You have to have a tank from every type.
Yeah.
You want a Japanese. You need a Japanese TD. Well, not a Japanese TD, but if they bring out a TD line, you can put your money. There's going to be a Japanese TD. Whereas on console, when they bring that out, we can just go, it's all right. We got the STA2. I don't need another one. So I do like things like that. And then their attitude to perks, although they kind of went back on themselves with this, where rather than do the TD accuracy nerf, the accuracy after firing thing, and the fact that people said, light tanks are OP because they maintain their camo, they then brought in new perks that don't fully do that, but do a lot of it. So you've got the muffled shot, which doesn't quite do the same amount of camo after firing as the TD one used to be, but was part of the way. There's the silent driving, which means that you get most of your camo maintained on the move, but not as much as light tanks. And that sort of thing I actually did quite like. I do think silent driving was a little OP, because it completely nullified light tanks until the light tank patch, where we got tier 10 lights, where they actually had some use again.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of realistically before, if you're in a Centurion AX and they're in a 1390, you have more view range, you have silent driving, so they're not that likely to spot you while you move into a decent position. With a better view range and a decent crew, you're probably just going to spot each other at the same time. You have a better gun, and you have more health and more armor. What's the point of being in a 1390 at that point?
Yeah.
Apart from trying to get a bat chat. I mean, it just became redundant. The premise was good. This is the key point, and however the result ended up, it's I don't know if you ever watched Clark and Dorr, the Australian comedians who did a thing on YouTube, and he does a brilliant skit about the BP executives being interviewed after the BP oil spill, and he goes, "Oh, we had a fantastic idea. And what was the fantastic idea? Well, we decided we were going to put a shopping center on top of the leak. A shopping center, yes. The idea, block it off. Did it work? Well, of course not. It's a shopping center underwater. It wouldn't work. Well, why is it a fantastic idea? Because we know it doesn't work now." And I love that premise. I'm okay with that premise. Try something, and if it doesn't work, then fine. But at least you did something that is a good positive step. And I do like some of the ideas that console have gone with. The concept of console being its own thing is great, but then it goes back to the little brother following in daddy's footsteps.
Yeah,
big brother's footsteps.
And that was another thing I brought.
Too much.
Yeah, that was another thing I brought up where it. Like, the idea of us being our own game, cool. That would be amazing if they actually embraced that, but they don't. We are our own game is only ever used as an excuse for why we're not getting something as quick as PC, or why they're ignoring a decision that may or may not work out on PC, but also may or may not work out here. Like, for example, the artillery system on PC, which could at best be described as divisive. But
I don't
in the
game, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I think reusable consumables is nice.
Actually, good point. Reusable consumables. Okay, like, for example, why can't we have that? That would benefit the average player. I know there's kind of some talk down about catering the game more to the average player and lowering the bar a bit. But that said, we're also bleeding out players and watching the player pop drop. So maybe we can make a few concessions in order to speed things up and ease people into it.
On the average player thing. So I think something like reusable consumables for me is a really bizarre point in terms of Wargaming NA stance on it. Because I don't know if I'm aware that one of the reasons in one of the Q&As, I'm sure you could find it if you dig through, one of the reasons they said they will never add the stun mechanic is because the stun mechanic requires the reusable consumables, and they never want to put reusable consumables into console. And that's just the most backwards response. Like, I don't get that. That just doesn't make. We can't use this because we don't want to use this other thing. But the other thing makes sense without the other thing. So just use the stun mechanic alone then, and add the consumables.
Yeah, that was the point. That was the point I was going to make. It's like, okay, we under the guise of we are our own game, they refuse to make any sort of necessary balance changes to things like the Death Star or the Waffle or artillery as it is now, where a Conqueror gun carriage can.
Technically, they did make balance changes. They just made it worse.
Yeah.
So they gave it the armor buff that PC got, but then didn't do the same nerf they gave at the same time to the pen.
Yeah.
So we got a more powerful Death Star.
Yeah. Or like with, or we still have a Conqueror gun carriage that can land half a mile away and kill half your crew. Okay, so if you're gonna refuse to balance everything, at least put something in that can help maybe take away a little bit of that sting. So if I get slammed in the turret by a freaking Hesh Star and half my crew's wiped out, I can at least bring them all back over time, which I never cut. Okay, I don't know how these virtual crews are supposed to be handling their tools, but I have never had a tool set that I've made a repair with on my car, a friend's car or anything like that for, and then not been able to use that tool set later. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it was funny regarding that. That was actually the reason I got banned from the forum. I said, I made the joke. I'm like, yeah, you guys have said that you were never going to put certain things in this game, and yet you still were forced to put them in. Like the physics pain god is on record as saying that being able to flip a tank is the stupidest idea ever. Which, yeah, it does suck, but I think the overall benefits kind of outweigh that, because I have maybe flipped a tank twice legitimately where I wasn't trying to in the year or so since we've had that update. But I'll tell you what, I like being able to play my light tanks on urban map and I'll have them stopped by a curb. And to me, the benefits outweigh that sort of negative. But anyway, that got pushed through because that was tied in with the server version. So I'm like, it would be hilarious if that reusable consumable thing was tied in with the server version. They had no choice but to put it in. And I said as much on the forum that A, it would be hilarious if that would happen. And then B, you could pick two of any, whatever the heck it is, you could put in 2 repair kits or whatever at the cost of something else. To me, that just seems like the developers came up with their own idea, and then all of a sudden PC sprung a surprise on them, and they didn't want to admit that, our idea looks kind of shit in comparison. So they just wanted to keep it out of pure, stupid, stubborn pride. Anyway, I said as much while I was quoting somebody on the forum staff who I won't name names, and yeah, that put me from 3rd strike to insta banned overnight. It's fine.
I saw you posting about the going from like a strike to insta ban with like no middle.
Yeah, it was. We kind of have we have something vaguely dealing with that coming up somewhere down the pipeline when all of us on status are busy with real life, which we do have. We do have this thing called real life. But that's also another thing that pisses me off about console is that as much as they say that they communicate and watch with what PC is doing, it's hilariously clear that they don't, because they have so many ideas that they come up with first, quote unquote first, but then PC does basically comes up with the exact same thing a week later, and it's so much better. Like, for example, Tiger 131, we got our weird, which we made. I was gonna say we
are entirely historically accurate and perfectly modeled Tiger 131.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna bring a point that so we got our weird. By the way, if you ever want to invite me back for another one of these things, I could probably go on an hour-long rant about Tiger 131 alone, but I won't. But that being said, we got our weird little Fury tie-in. And then a week later, PC comes out with, we actually wanted the actual Tiger 131, which is modeled down to the tiniest bit of battle damage. So it's like, oh, okay. Seems kind of odd that if you were communicating with PC, you probably would have known that was coming out of the pipeline and then just, poured it over. Or with the reusable consumable thing, that was announced pretty much right after we got the pick 2 of anything, which, sorry, that's just shit. I don't even use it. I don't see... I really don't. I don't know that many people who do use it. But still, it seems like if they were properly communicating with PC, they probably would have known, already is kind of weak in comparison, so maybe we'll just port it over. And then with every dev Q&A, I have to correct them that when they try to explain this already stun mechanic, they think that, stunned, your tank's just dead for however long. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You basically just have your crew skills nerfed slightly, and it could instantly be countered with a first aid kit. which
it is quite drastically.
yeah, it's drastic, but it's nowhere near what they're describing, where your tank's just dead.
No, they're still wrong.
And the thing I remember I've corrected them on that, and then 2 months later down the line, they explained the same thing again. I had to correct them again, and to this day, they probably still do. I don't watch the Q&As as much as I used to anymore because fuck that. I'm not going on Facebook. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, they're trash because that's why I want to log into an hour-long Q&A for 5 minutes of actually answering questions and 5 minutes of them talking about freaking the McDonald's down the street. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the console devs just kind of seem to be this. They're basically like the graybeards in Skyrim. They got their little mountaintop where they look down upon us all, but completely insulating themselves from any and all input.
Method, undoubtedly.
And actually, I have a little one that I need to pick up from school in the next couple of minutes, so probably need to start wrapping this up, get ready, and make sure my car's not going to die.
Only an hour 51. Only an hour 51 in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say that. I do fear for console, but there is potential hope. I think ironically, in a weird way, NA may do so much damage that they may lose console, at which point I can see better things on the horizon.
It's for this game.
Like there's stuff I can't say, but I know EU are doing their darndest to make this game work. It's just at the moment they don't have much power.
Yeah, this game,
that change, I can see good things.
This game is gonna need one hell. It's basically gonna need like a World of Warplanes level of change.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see it happening.
The issue is if you think about how far World of Warplanes had to fall for that to happen, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I probably sound like I'm a bit brown-nosing Carbide. And it's because of just it's the difference.
Hey, here's the thing. Carbide communicates with you.
You talk to
Carbide communicates with you, that's okay. The level of communication on console is so freaking low that even somebody acknowledging your presence without having to post a cat gif is amazing.
Well, it's not just that. It's also the fact that if I post something to any of the NA staff at the moment and I get a reply, the reply will be an attempt to end that conversation. But with Carbide, what you get is this weird thing, and it's a great thing that he used to have to answer to PC people about a load of stuff. Now he doesn't. He now has his own section, which is, yay, step in the right direction. But when you talk to him about stuff, he runs with it, and he comes up. Do you know, like me and you were talking about all these ideas on the forums? He reads through those, and he doesn't just look at them and go either, okay, I'll pass that on, or something like that, like that you'll get from the NA staff, where they're not going to, and even if they do, it's just going to be completely ignored. He not only will not note it down or jot it down, he will then improve on it and develop on it using his inside knowledge. So I've had back and forths with him about stuff about. So I think I can talk about this because there's no NDA about any of it. So I talked to him the other day about I'd really like to see a system that encourages sort of like platoon play outside of social groups. And so I'd said, something where you can play with people who are new to the game and you are rewarded for it. And the result of a back and forth of about a half an hour conversation was we'd sort of agreed on a system what we would like to see implemented, where what you got was an experienced player jumps into a queue, and which is someone with, say, either 5 or 10,000, preferably 10,000 or more battles, and then two people with under, say, 1,000 or 2,000 battles are matched up with that person. You have to be in voice comms, and you all three of you get 1.25 times XP. So you get a nice 25% XP bonus, which is reasonable.
Which is nice. And
especially if
if I recall right,
it's a nice little bonus.
If I recall right, PC actually has that as well. They have
it if you invite a friend.
Yeah.
So you can't do this with a random, but you can do it with an invite friend. And occasionally they run ops, which are for just platoons full stop. At which point they encourage you to do the platoon on the fly thing, because you'll get like an extra 50% XP if the two of you left alive at the end create a platoon.
Yeah.
That's not exactly the same, but it's a similar principle. But then going further into this, we then say, okay, the thing is, you don't just want people to do it. You don't want some guy to just do it. Okay, I want to grind my tier 4, so I'm going to be nice for like 5 games. You want to kind of keep it going from that. And so what I said was, so for after 10 games, you get a times 2 XP boost. After 20 games, you get a times 3 XP boost. After 50 games, you get a times 4 XP boost. And after 100 games, you get a times 5. Now, after 110, you now get 2 times 2 XP boosts, and you get where this is going. So the more and more you do it, the more and more you get. And I'd said every landmark of, say, 500, you get a new premium tank that's got a special skin that says, like, Helping Hand, or some sort of, hint to that you're a nice guy who helps people out. Because not only will that create, that's a reward, and I'm saying, so similar to the way that the personal reward missions on PC are at the moment. So, say like a Stug at tier 5, then the, whatever it is, that weird T28 concept thing at tier 7, going all the way up until you get a tier 8 Prem tank after like 2,000 Helping Hand battles. It not only gives them a reason to do that many battles at that sort of thing, but it also sort of, when they then go out and play that tank, shows to people, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. He probably is willing to help me out with something. And I think that it encourages experienced players to play. It helps bring in new people. It gets new people to platoon. It potentially makes new friend groups because of the insistence on voice comms. And this is the thing. That's a conversation with a guy from Wargaming. Could you imagine having that conversation with someone in NA?
No, I'd probably get told to shut up, go away, and then as soon as comms were shut down, they'd probably wish I died from cancer.
Yeah.
But which who knows? Which might be a little harsh, but sorry, that's just kind of the culture that's been cultivated.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, I get exactly what you mean.
If that's the sort of person who one day could be in charge of World of Tanks console,
yeah,
you can see why I think there's that slim chance that you get charged.
And the sad thing,
and he's the person in charge. How good could the game end up being?
The really sad thing is
he thinks like a player.
Yeah, the really sad thing is though, we used to have that. When the game first out, we used to have several of those people, but for one reason or another, they've all been dismissed, promoted, shoved into quote unquote quality assurance, which I think we know who we're talking about on that one, and I think that claim is dubious at best, considering we've never heard from said person ever again. Probably.
Are you sure the quality of them not working here anymore?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Chicago. They're probably buried in a back alley somewhere. But yeah.
But no, I agree. For all the negative things we've said about Wargaming NA, as we keep having to point out, at one point they were really good.
Yeah.
At one point, I really think they were a good company who had some real good aims for what they wanted from this platform.
The main problem is they took the deserved praise they got, and they rode it a little too far. Yeah. A couple years too far. Like, okay, if you do something good, take your pat on the back. Don't take that as an excuse to slow down, though. It's kind of like I'm trying to get into visual arts and hopefully start doing commissions in the foreseeable future. And each piece I do, I post it. I appreciate the comments that I get. And I get a lot of kind of comments I want to do. That being said, I always look critically at what I did and where I can improve it and take that into the next piece. Because there's always going to be something that I can improve upon. And I see video games as art in the same way. And especially something like this, like I said, there's not going to be a completely new game coming out in the next year that's going to bail you out. So you got to keep looking at where can we improve, where can we innovate, and console refuses to do that because they rode on their success, they rode on their initial success, and then B, they cut and prune the community to where basically it's just an echo chamber of, oh yeah, you guys are so awesome. No, you guys were awesome, and you basically just cut out and ignored everybody who wasn't kissing your ass on that initial success. And now we're at the state where we're in, where we need to make, where most of our conversations are like this, and we can't even do it direct. We can't even communicate directly with Wargaming anymore because, well, let's face it, if you and I had this conversation on the forums, we would probably both be gone.
Well, me especially these days, considering my tag was actively removed.
Yeah, and well, I'm already gone and have been for months, and honestly, I don't regret it. But Yeah.
Censorship is an interesting premise.
Yeah. But anyway, I do need to get going.
Yeah.
So
So let's end this.
Yep.
And so my little outro. So feel free to leave, as I just need to do an outro thing. So hope you've enjoyed this. I don't know whether this has been in 1 or 2 parts. Please leave a comment down below if you want to be in one of these. I'm going to make like a list. Leave your gamer tag. Doesn't have to be done on Xbox. We're doing this on Discord right now. So feel free to just say that. You can obviously join my Discord. It's probably where I'm going to do some of them in the future. And let me know any sort of topics that you'd like to be discussed in this sort of format. Let me know if you would like to see World of Tanks console fall to the level of World of Warplanes just to get a rebirth. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've enjoyed this. And as always, I shall see you on the battlefield. Want to add anything there, Deco?
Nope, I'm good. I am all good. If you ever feel like inviting me for a part 3, 4, 5, and 6, by all means, I am almost always open.
All right. Well, from me and Senor Noir, thought I'd mix in the languages there. See you around.